Nicolas Petrovic came to INSEAD in 2002 after a successful career with SNCF, the French railway company. He was perhaps looking for a change, but that didn't work out because he was immediately hired by Eurostar and in 2010 became their chief executive. You started out at the SNCF as a graduate, but quite soon you were given a very responsible role, operationally responsible for the Paris Saint-Lazare station. How did that happen?
I was a bit like, operations doesn't sound very exciting. And then it grew on me, and someone maybe shoved me into it. And I took over a job in Saint-Lazare. And I remember my first week, it was tough. It was tough. We had some. I remember one of our staff got assaulted because it's one of the worst suburbs of Paris, so it was not funny at all. And then you have to handle it, and then you get really quickly into it. And I stayed over 2 years in that role. I have to say I learned a lot. Managing people, managing an operation, you learn a lot. And what I learned, which was interesting, is that I got a buzz out of it. I really enjoyed it. And it's funny because when I went to a French business school before, nothing prepares you for that. But then, no, actually, I liked it.
You went to INSEAD, but you weren't looking, I don't think, to get back into railways.
Well, I was about to sign for another job, entrepreneurship in Middle East, nothing to do. And I received a phone call from a guy I didn't know who worked at Eurostar UK at the time. And he said, well, we've got a friend in common and he works at SNCF and I'm looking for someone. And he said, oh, you need to call Nicolas Petrovic because he's looking for a job at the moment. He's a great guy. And you see, that's fate, isn't it? So I said, well, I don't want to go back to railway. I want to change industry. He said, oh, come on, just come and see us. We can just have a chat. I said, yeah, okay, let's go for a chat. And I went to London, went through a few interviews, and actually I loved the people and the project.
What industry what industry is Eurostar in?
It's a good question. For me, I'm in the service industry, which happens to have an industrial base running railway. But that's not the point. That's not what I'm selling. I'm selling an experience, a brand, something where, for me, the ambition is that people just, they buy the ticket and they're happy. And they think, oh, I can't wait to travel. Because that will be special for one reason or another. So, and actually a lot of what I do is to span the two things. You have a big industrial base, to run the trains, which is extremely industrial. But that's not important. People take it for granted. What they will judge us on is the service, the smile, the way we handle a difficult situation, their experience. Are they going to be happy? How is it going to go?
When things go wrong in most businesses, people get upset or lose money. But when things go wrong in transportation, things crash, and it's incredibly serious potentially. How do you deal with that level of responsibility?
A lot of that is, in my view, managed through the culture, actually. So if you take safety, the first part of having a safe business, especially for us, where it's number one priority, safety for us. Of course, you need to have the procedures, the organizations, the right people, etc. But it's also to have the right culture where everyone, down to especially on the shop floor, understand what is safe, what is not safe, and that whatever happens, it's always on the side of safety you should fall. And so, for instance, I've got my safety letter I send every year to the whole staff, and in it I say, if you feel something is not safe, and even if your management says otherwise, I will support you. It's all about the culture.
Lots of people who go to INSEAD change careers a lot, but you have stayed in the same industry. Do you think there are benefits in doing that?
It's difficult. I don't want to compare, but for me, for instance, I really, I know how it works. It gives me a lot of credibility. I can talk to anyone in the company, and I do every day. They will believe me because they know what I'm talking about. They know that I know what they're doing. and it gives you a lot of sense. Then it's also helpful with, you talked about safety, things like that. I think it's always good to understand what's going on in the company. I would feel slightly uncomfortable having such big responsibilities without having a good understanding of how it works. I'm not a specialist, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a technician, but I know enough. So I can challenge people, deploy resources differently. I think you're better at adapting what's going on in the business if you understand it in a bit more detail.
Transport's a huge industry globally, a huge, significant proportion of GDP, but it's often kind of overlooked. What kind of people do you think do best in transport as a career?
You need to enjoy the buzz of the operation. Absolutely everyone I know, airport, chief execs or chief ops or any job, actually, you have to enjoy the day-to-day buzz. And if you do, it's fantastic because you've got a range of things you're working on. I call it helicopter management. So you have to be able to go very high sometimes. Big decisions, procurement of trains, it's 10 years or 20 years or changing the business model, whatever. But you have also to be able to go down to detail. You need to like detail too. You need to like talking to a customer, talking to staff. You need to like when it goes wrong. Actually, you will see that a lot of people in transport actually enjoy it. Not in a crazy way, but it's just suddenly up, all hands to the pump. Everyone is involved, and there is a rush of adrenaline, and you're working very hard to make it right and to minimize the impact for the customers. So you need to have that in you.
Lots of people want to be CEO. What would you say to an MBA student who aspires to that?
I have no lessons to give, but I would say there is something you cannot really buy for. I guess for this type of role is a bit of time and experience, and sometimes people want to they don't understand why they cannot jump directly to big jobs, and I don't get it why I'm not already the CFO or already the CEO, and you learn that you cannot buy time, and it's not a question of being 60 before you've got a big role, etc. But having a bit of time in a company and understanding how it works, and actually doing, for instance, the operational part. Actually, I learned a lot about myself, about how I handle pressure or not. And I think if you want to be a chief exec one day, you need to it's helpful to have been through a rough time. Because when you're a chief exec, you're going to have a big rough time at least once. And it's something awful. And so on a personal basis, you need to be able to sustain that. The pressure can be very, very high. And then some people don't like it. Others thrive on it.